Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Pittsburgh Steelers get promising OT back after missing several months with foot injury. The Pittsburgh Steelers got some critical help on their offensive line on Wednesday. Offensive tackle Dylan Cook, who had missed the entire first half of the season with a Lisfranc injury in his foot, was activated off injured reserve. The Steelers now have 4 offensive tackles on the active roster, and Cook is expected to slot into the swing tackle role. Cook suffered the injury during the Steelers' joint practice against the Buffalo Bills all the way back in August. He went on to play in the game 2 days later before the team discovered just how bad the injury was, which landed him on injured reserve. Cook's injury became more concerning once Troy Fautanu suffered a severe knee injury that would cost him at least the rest of the regular season. With Broderick Jones struggling at right tackle, Cook gives the Steelers another option in the room. In addition, if another injury should happen in the offensive tackle room, Cook would give the Steelers another option to turn to rather than having only just Calvin Anderson available to playing at both tackle spots. As the wide receiver market continues to move rather quickly in the NFL ahead of the November 5 trade deadline, the Pittsburgh Steelers remain in search of an answer to a year-long question at the position behind George Pickens. According to Sportskeeda NFL insider Tony Pauline, the Steelers are eyeing 3 specific wide receivers ahead of the trade deadline, that being the Denver Broncos' Courtland Sutton, the New York Giants' Darius Slayton, and the New York Jets' Mike Williams, all names that have been tied to them at one point or another in the last few months. I've twice mentioned the Pittsburgh Steelers as a team in the market to trade for a wide receiver, as they were one of the franchise keying on Davante Adams before the former Raiders wideout was moved to the New York Jets. Now, sources have attached the names of 3 receivers they will look to trade for. They include Darius Slayton of the New York Giants, Mike Williams of the New York Jets, and Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos, Pauline writes for Sportskeeda. I am told the Steelers have a lot of interest in the Broncos wideout, but it is a matter of meeting Denver's asking price, which I'm told is high. Can Steelers turn off leaky faucet on run defense? Ordinarily a strength, the Pittsburgh Steelers have had issues with their run defense at times this season. Now, don't get me wrong, they still rank among the best run defenses in the league across the board. Through 8 games, they have allowed 724 yards on 183 attempts, with 4 touchdowns at 4 yards per attempt. Those are very respectable numbers, and on the whole, the Steelers' run defense is as well. But when they are not, they fall apart. We saw that on Monday night against the New York Giants, who rushed for 157 yards against them. In fact, over the past 5 games, the Steelers have allowed 100-plus rushing yards 3 times. They also allowed 109 yards to the Dallas Cowboys, and 133 to the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts averaged 4.2 yards over 32 attempts, and that includes 1 kneel down. The Cowboys only averaged 3.5 yards per attempt, but they were able to run the ball when they needed to. Except at the goal line, anyway. Thanks, Elandon. This season, it seems, we have just seen an inconsistent Steelers team. Sometimes they look like they're all on the same page, and at other times, not. Yet they shut down the run against the Las Vegas Raiders and the New York Jets, not that either team committed to running the ball. It's hard to diagnose just how big of a problem this is, in truth, but it's becoming more frequent. We know Steelers players and coaches are angry and frustrated about it. In spite of their wins, they come away upset about their own play and feeling that they underperformed. When you let Tyrone Tracy Jr. run for 145 yards on 20 attempts, yeah, I can get that. They blew it on a 45-yard touchdown run in the second half. Calvin Austin 3 bailed the Steelers' defense out, though, on both offense and special teams. Will some self-scouting over the bye week help to turn off these leaks in the second half of the season? Tim Benz, Cam Sutton will add to Steelers' defense, but don't subtract too much Beanie Bishop from the equation. Steelers defensive back Cameron Sutton is eligible to return from his 8-game suspension in Week 10 when the Steelers return from their bye. That doesn't mean defensive coordinator Terrell Austin is in a hurry to rip the slot cornerback job away from Beanie Bishop and simply hand it to Sutton in time for the franchise's next game in Washington on November 10. I don't think that we have to force him. We know he's a good player. We know he's a capable starter, Austin said Wednesday. Our big thing is, let's get him in, see where he fits, and how he's going to help us get better. Austin suggested that the Steelers may be inclined to ease Sutton into the defensive back rotation gradually. I think that's wise. We're going to try to work Sutton in, Austin said. He'll play some slot. We know he's got a jack-of-all-trades mentality. He has the ability to do it. We'll play that by ear, see where he is physically, and go from there. Regardless of how much Sutton will play in Washington, defensive teammate Alex Highsmith is just happy to see Sutton back in the mix. It's going to be awesome. We are so excited to have him back, Highsmith said. We know what type of football player he is. We know what he brings to our defense. Him being here and knowing the system, he is going to add a lot of value and make a lot of plays. Sutton was a Steeler from 2017 to 22. He went to Detroit in free agency prior to the beginning of the 2023 season. After some up-and-down play, allegations of domestic violence and a failure to turn himself in on an active warrant, the Lions released Sutton in March. The Steelers signed him in June, but he was then suspended for half of this year because of the details surrounding the domestic violence case. Austin said the defensive coaching staff can take things slowly with Austin because Bishop has been more than capable of being the top option to cover slot receivers. The undrafted rookie out of West Virginia has 3 interceptions over the last 2 games. He's on an upward trajectory, Austin said of Bishop. We've just got to keep him going. Austin says there are other reasons to be happy with Bishop aside from the picks. He's been a really good tackler in terms of things thrown in front of him, Austin said. The thing where most young guys struggle is with pass coverage, different things that happen, and people are trying to attack him. I think he's starting to respond to that. It's a good thing when guys see things, and they're able to fix it, and it doesn't continue to happen. For his part, Bishop seems confident in what he has put on tape. Every guy knows when it's their turn, it's time to step up, Bishop said after the win over the New York Giants on Monday night. Nothing is mystical about what is going on here. Just putting the work in. Whenever it is your turn, you have to step up. Bishop has done just that. I'd stick with him as the main player in the slot until or unless he gets injured, gets exposed, or hits a rookie wall of some sort. There will be plenty of chances to dot Sutton into various spots throughout the secondary. Sutton can spell Joey Porter Jr. and or Dante Jackson on the outside if needed. He could also give Deshaun Elliott or Damontae Kazee an occasional break. So, barring a dip in Bishop's play that warrants a diminished role, I think Austin can find other things for Sutton to do than strictly absorb all of, or most of, Bishop's reps in the slot. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Courtland Sutton? Leave your opinion in the comments.